Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I have such an exciting knife review slash knife overview to share with you guys. This is the WE Knives and Dalibor Bergam Attor, an absolutely beautiful and incredible example of what WE Knives is capable of executing in 2024. This is an integral, no surprise there if you're familiar with Dalibor Bergam. Before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge a little bit of a bias here. I am going to try and be fair with this knife, but the truth is that this design in particular is one that checks a lot of boxes, but more importantly, I have been a massive fan of Dalibor's work for an incredibly long period of time. In fact, I waited to get on his books, and I am currently having a custom made by him, which I am paying for full price. I absolutely believe in that. So more than happy to do that, but I can't wait to have a piece made by the legendary Dalibor Bergam out of Croatia. This guy not only makes his own knives, he makes his own freaking materials to go into the knives. He literally makes the material for the blade and frame before he makes the knife by hand. That's insane. I'm more than happy to support that type of legendary knife making. He's also one of the nicest human beings I've ever spoken with, and I feel like if you have ever had a conversation or an interaction with Dalibor, you probably feel the same way. I'm a huge fan of this. I listed this recently in one of the best knives to come out for 2024. I am a design reviewer, so design has a heavy influence on me, and I realize that that's incredibly subjective, but I handle a lot of stuff. So the combination of Dalibor's design language and WE's 2024 wizard level execution has brought us this majestic unicorn. It is so cool. I love this. I do have some nitpicks. I do, honestly, but all in all, it is well deserving of a spot on that list of the best of 2024 according to Metal Complex. So if you'd like to sit around and listen, great. If not, that's okay too. Either way, this will be listed down in the description where you guys can check it out if you want to. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex and on TikTok at _metal_complex. I actually bought this. I'm going to be real with you. Most of the time, the stuff that I get from WE is free, right? And I always tell them, like, hey, I'm going to tell you guys what you think, like, or what I think. You know, thanks for the free knife, but, you know, some of them are going to be positive, some of them are going to be negative. I paid for this. I legitimately asked WE, I said, can you please send me one of those? I really want that one in particular. And they said, I don't know. I don't know if we're going to have one. Well, I couldn't wait, so I bought one. I thought they were going to say no. And then they turned back around a week or so later and they say, yeah, we're going to send you one. So maybe we'll have to do a giveaway on that one. But that one is yet to arrive. But this one was paid for by me. I paid full price for this. Happy to do it. Happy to support Dalibor for sure. Let's go ahead and get a measurement on this exquisite, majestic beauty. My pronunciation is getting bad. 8 1/4 inches. God, that just makes me smile. 3 1/2 inches of... You guys are going to run wild with that in the comments. 3 1/2 inches of blade. 3 1/4... Yeah, 3.3 inches of cutting edge. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons. Any custom scales you find in this section can be found down in the description under Original Goat and Others. So up against the AD-10 and the AD-20.5. You can see it is a large knife. I mean, a full-size knife. You know, you can't say large because you offend the cold steel guys. But it is roughly or very close to the same overall length as the AD-10, maybe a 1/4 inch off. Nowhere near as robust, though. Let's put it up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3. It is almost exactly the same overall length as the PM2. It literally looks like, you know, when you see the evolutionary, like the evolution of man, you know, and there's like the little monkey, and then we slowly start standing up. This is like, the PM2 is like right before man, like, learns how to use computers. Like, here, let's do this, right? and the technological advancements, right? Like that's what this looks like to me. It's just like a super future PM2. Totally different, obviously, but anyways, let's put it up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue and the Hogue Deca. How is the action? We Knives always doing a great job in terms of their execution, but Dalibor and his design language allow for this knife to deploy just so organic. It's just so organic. You guys might look at this and think, I see a little bit of Sebastian Berengi in there. Or for those of you who don't know who Sebastian is, I see a little bit of the Stitch in there. Maybe if you look on his Instagram, you'll find out that they're really good friends. You should check it out. It's so cool. Like, it warmed my heart because I didn't know that for the longest time. And I saw a ways back. This is just fun little, like me discovering this. A lot of you who are much more familiar with both Sebastian and Dalibor will be laughing at me. But I went back and I was like, dude, he made a Stitch. Oh my gosh, like he can just do that. And then I realized it was a collaboration. Like, Dalibor made the Stitch, but like with his style, because they're friends. I think they are close to lifelong friends. So their design language sort of spills over, and they have that sort of that they influence each other, right? Which I love, because I've always loved. I loved both of their work before I realized that they were buddies. So I just think that's really cool. But we have external stops. These are thumb studs. It's just like a cylindrical stop that absolutely can be utilized as a, it kind of makes me think of like the ZT0562 that was based on the Hinderer. Whereas the Hinderer's thumb stubs, the XM18, they were textured slightly, stepped. So they obviously were much more inviting for the finger. My choice of words is so bad. Much more inviting, for your thumb. But the ones on the ZT0562, people argued on the forums all the time. They're not supposed to be used to deploy the knife. They're just, external stops. And other people are like, but I figured out how to use it. They did that back and forth. Yeah, I'd say this is a little more inviting. Like, you can definitely use it. I would say that the opening hole, both in terms of like thumb deploying or reverse flicking, I would say it was much more organic, right? It makes a lot more sense. So yeah, but either way, it's such a cool look too, because it's very clean. There's a bunch of different configurations, but this one in particular is so clean with the blue. I love that. I don't always love the blue accents, but the way that this is done is so good. So good. Access to the lock bar is great. There's not an extra cutout from the front, and that keeps this incredibly clean look, so I get it, right? If you're going to do that, it has to be super open in here. It has to be very cozy to get in there and dig, right? And it is. It's incredibly cozy. Also, the unsharpened portion right here, which is definitely meant as a little bit of a choke-up spot. Really subtle. Nice touch there. But, yeah, it's just beautifully comes down and touches the finger. It just caresses the finger. This is becoming an oddly intimate review. I'm sorry. But it's really nice the way that this drops, and no worries of it actually contacting your, the sharpened portion of the blade contacting your fingers. Beautifully smooth. We Knives has just evolved. It's literally almost completely and totally fall shut. We Knives has done such an incredible evolution, or has experienced such an incredible evolution over the years, and they've gone from making good knives to making great knives to making incredible knives. Knives like this with the new sauce, the 2023 and 2024 sauce, in my opinion, stand toe-to-toe with Riyadh, and in some cases are a little bit more impressive. Now, I know that everybody's got something up their sleeve, but Riyadh is definitely flexing. They've rolled the sleeve up, and they're showing us the bicep, the tricep, right? All the veins popping out. They're just really giving us, hey, you want the sauce? We're going to give you the sauce. They're doing it here. Really great. So yeah, the action's good is what I was trying to say there. The D10 also feels spectacular it's just exactly right for what you're going to do to deploy it. I love it, right? It is a little bit of a slippery surface, right? This is completely untextured, very smooth. So as long as you got a good grip on it, you're good to go. But, there's not much lock-in here, right? This is much more designy than it is meant to be like something that is perfectly lock-in ergonomic, right? We'll talk more about ergonomics. Carry profile. This is going to go on forever because this is the type of review that gets me super excited. So you're going to know before you click on it. I'm sure it's like 30 minutes long, but I get really excited about this stuff. Let's do thickness up against the Spyderco Pair 3. It's not all that thick, which I'm sure you guys will love. If those of you who hear Dalibor, you think, oh, massively overbuilt. He does do that, but not always, right? There's tons of knives. I mean, I've reviewed it was the Asgard or the Odin had some tie to Thor. I reviewed it. And it was a beautiful, much more compact, like reasonably sized knife, right? So this is kind of in that general realm of more like reasonable carry. It is contoured, so it's roughly as thick, but also contoured, which is, thank you, We Knives, for doing this. It's so cool. Man, I love that. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. This is an integral knife that is actually really friendly in the pocket. It is not massively heavy or thick or anything like that, and it is fairly compact. And fairly lightweight, all things considered. So you can see here, it's roughly the same length as the PM2, closed up a little shorter, not quite as tall as either the Spyderco PM2 or the Para 3. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. I'm going to get out my tools. As per usual, my tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description. It talks about the tools I use on this channel. So the beauty of an integral, for those of you saying, what's the point, right? It's carved from a single piece of titanium, or machined from a single piece of titanium, versus what we traditionally see is two pieces of titanium that are screwed together, right? Using backspacers, standoffs, whatever. This is much less expensive to do. Whether or not you care about this does not change how expensive it is to do. It is very expensive. On top of that, We's doing a super premium job of this, and they're offering some pretty excellent finishes, right? This is what I would consider to be pretty complex machine work, right? It's very flowy. It almost looks like this knife was formed from a drop of some sort of metallic substance, right? Like in Terminator 2, the guy that was like liquid metal. Oh, it's like this fell off of him while he was melting. That's what it makes me think of, But anyways, the beauty of a titanium integral is very little in terms of, the disassembly process. You literally just have the pocket clip screw, which in this case, there's no mounting position on the right hand, for lefties, which is a bummer. Sorry, lefties, but there's no mounting position for the lefty side. You have one pocket clip screw. There's no reason to ever take it out. Same with the lock bar insert screw. There's literally no reason to take it out. The only thing you're ever going to need to take out, if you want to, is the pivot. One screw, and you pull the blade out and clean it, or you look at it, or whatever you're going to do with it, and then you put it back together. Gosh, this was out off camera. I just bumped my pinky into it. Close your knives, idiot. It's T8 across the board, and that is wonderful. That's something that I love about integrals and find very interesting, even if the benefit for me doesn't often rear its head. I do very much enjoy that. So that's wonderful. Nice work there. Let's go ahead and weigh it. So what are we looking at for materials here? We're looking at CPM 20 CV, and we are looking at, it would be pretty tricky to do this, but I don't think there's anything in there in the way of weight reduction. We'll take a look here real quick. Yeah, no, nothing in there, but that's no surprise. So titanium and 20 CV, and then what is almost certainly titanium hardware. And then you have a steel lock bar insert. So the weight on this guy, I'm going to guess that this is shy of 5 ounces. I would maybe 4.75. Yeah, and I think the reason I knew that that it was logged in my memory is because I weighed it when I unboxed it, which I think that's pretty good for an integral, right? I mean, you have 3.5 inches of blade, 4.7, 4.8 ounces of weight. Not bad for an integral, right? It's under 5 ounces for a solid titanium integral that most people will say is a full-size knife. I don't think that's bad. Balance, it's always going to be a little bit butt heavy, but you know what? Not bad at all. Right there behind the pivot. That is so impressive. Man. Okay. let's go ahead and do blade stock thickness, which I'm realizing I don't have any idea where my calipers are. There they are, right there. Sorry, I got so excited to review this, I just didn't have anything laid out properly. So blade stock thickness on this guy is coming in at 125 thousandths, definitely on the thinner side, and that is very cool. Meat and potatoes time. I don't know about you guys, but I love this aesthetic. This is so flowy and beautiful. A lot of people look at this and say, what is so special? It just looks like a knife. I don't know. To me, this looks like alien tier spacecraft, right? Or this looks like something that the government, created after they reverse engineered alien technology and they turned it into some sort of sky death machine developed at Area 52. That's what or 51, 52? 52 is not even real, is it? I don't know what I'm saying, right? But this is so cool, man. This is such a good looking knife. It's so clean. And there are different versions of this, but what really sent this design for me, because I wanted to look at the lines. You can get the crazy, busy, shiny, flashy. You can do all that. But I wanted to look at the lines and appreciate the lines. So I got one of the plainer ones with Wee's Silver Bead Blast. I did not know that they basically mirror polish the pivot collar, right? Same way with this other side, right? I also love that little lip there is the stop. Like that is what they're using to, I'm not the stop. The over travel stop, right? Instead of the lock bar insert having a little tab. That's that piece right there. I love that both that and the studs the studs are polished. Now you're gonna say that look like the studs look like they're a different color. No, they're actually the same. It's just as you use them, right? Just like if I were to touch the pivot collar, it's gonna fade it a little bit. So as you continue to use those thumb studs, they're gonna look like a separate color. It's just the oils from your hands are gonna sort of subdue that color and reflectivity at the same time, right? But they are in fact the same color, as you can see. Really beautiful, just subtle little tiny accents. I love that the entirety of the hole is accessible on the front and back. Not much of a need for scalloping. Normally I say, you should have carved out, but this is so roomy, right? The scale goes all the way underneath, and it's contoured and heavily chamfered right here. So even though, there's a little bit of a ledge, super easy. Doesn't need it, and it would ruin the aesthetic if you did a little scallop here for better access. No, I get it. Clean, right? So Tanto. And you also have I guess what they're calling the Silver Bead Blast on this blade, which I love. Not a regular bead blast or media blast, right? So you don't get that cheap look like on that CRKT I always make. I like CRKT. It's just that one. No. It's the Gerber paraframe. Oh God, what a disaster. But you don't get that cheap look. Super nice, subtle reflectivity, almost like an overcast sky. Beautiful. Obviously, we knows how to execute a blade. Somebody was asking me in the comments. They were like, mine was like not symmetrical or something. Nope. This is absolutely perfect. I mean, it is legitimately perfect all the way around. I've never had a Wii knife where it looked maybe like on the cutting edge. Maybe that's what he was talking about. He thought maybe it was uneven. No, it's perfect. Wii doesn't typically have a problem with that, so you're good. A little bit of a sharpening trail there. Some people are going to love that. Some people are going to hate it, right? You'll get people insisting that they're absolutely right and it should absolutely be the way that they see it, and other people saying the same thing from their side. Whatever. It's there. There's a sharpening trail there, so you can kind of decide whether or not you like that for yourself. I personally don't care. I don't. If it comes time to sharpen, I think I'll appreciate that, because when it just runs into a nothing, it runs into the ether. whatever infinite zone there is between sharpened and unsharpened portion of the edge, I will always dick that up. Always, because I'm an amateur sharpener and a goofball, and I'm impatient. So I'll mess that up. So this, I guess I appreciate. Speaking of sharpening, because it is more of a Tanto, I guess I mean, because of the curvature there, I hate saying this. If I utter the words Japanese tanto, I'm summoning a crowd of insufferable people. And I know I'm going to get some heat for that in the comments, right? But when you say Japanese tanto, the people who will come to educate and correct you are amongst the most insufferable, right? Welcome to my channel. If you like blades, that's perfectly fine. If you feel personally attacked by me identifying this in any way as kind of like a Japanese tanto, and you feel like you need to write me a book in the comments, you can do that, but I ain't gonna read it, big guy, okay? So thank you very much. Have a nice day. Back to the review. Beautiful swedge. Beautiful flat here, runs out maybe 70% the length of the blade. So fairly robust. I don't know. In terms of like cutting tests, yeah, I mean, like it's not super thin behind the edge. It'll slice, it'll cut, it'll do that, right? But this is the kind of knife that you carry because you want to carry something that's premium and stylish. And it can still do knife stuff, right? It would not be my number one pick for taking outside and like doing hardcore knife tasks. Could you do it? Sure. Yeah, you could. Probably not my number one pick though, for a number of reasons. Very, very open ergonomic design, much more leaning towards like styling, right? This is Dalibor's design language. So whatever anybody thinks of it, he's like, yeah, whatever. I mean, like it's my design language. I get it, right? Ergonomically, the lines themselves are comfortable but slick. Transition, especially between the choked up spot and the sharpened portion of the blade. Literally, the only thing that's there to stop you is the fact that there's a small indentation, like the sharpening tool, right? But back here, up here, it's fine. You know what bothers me, though, is the pocket clip. God. Oh, Dalibor, I love your work. I gotta be honest, though. I really don't like that pocket clip. I think, and this is my opinion, I'm not a knife maker, right? My opinion as somebody who just handles a lot of knives, I find that pocket clip to be very uncomfortable and way too pronounced. It swoops down and comes over, making it a little bit problematic for me in and out of the pocket. I guess there's a reason for this, I mean, it's hard for me. It's easy for me to critique Civivi on what I call their dragon bill clip. Everybody's waiting, like, he clearly loves his knife. Is he gonna talk about the pocket clip? Because that's not his style. Well, I am. I gotta be true to myself. But I guess there's a reason for it. If somebody like Dalibor put something like this on their knife. But just my opinion, I think it's too long. I would have preferred that it be shorter and that it just kind of stop like right here, right? I like to see that swoop and that ramp. And then maybe not so much of a over. I don't mind that it coming to a point, but it's not so much up and over. But that's just where I'm at. And the reasoning there is because when I'm gripping it in the standard grip, that bill it's going right here into my hand. And so that's not super comfortable in a situation where, the few people who will go out and use this for an extended period of time, which I don't think will be too many. Not because it's delicate, but just because of the reasoning behind, like the people who are actually going to buy this, the reasoning behind carrying and using it, right? Or the reasoning behind buying it is going to be much more for the styling and the design work. But those people who do choose to do that will find that this position is uncomfortable. And the choked up position is better, but still uncomfortable solely because of the pocket clip. It makes it so noticeable because the rest of the knife is so comfortable. It's it's slick. There's no texturing or anything, right? I think I would have preferred a little jimping up here. There's none. So there you go. No lanyard hole. Oh, darn. Yeah, that lanyard, any type of lanyard, anything would have ruined the aesthetic of this. So that was the right choice. No lanyard bar, hole, hook, dingy thing sticking out, nothing. That's great. That's the way to do that. Carry depth, not a lot sticking up out of your pocket. It has that hornet look, that robot hornet look. Look at the relief cuts. Never seen so many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little cuts there. Absolutely beautiful. I like that we chose, well, I say we, like we did this together. We and Dalibor Bergam, I should say. It's about the same. I think there's more reflectivity on the frame than there is the pocket clip, so you get to, I guess, enjoy that subtle contrast. Same with the steel lock bar insert, right? They anodized the lock bar insert screw. We have obviously the external, the stops are external studs, right? You have a lockup percentage of, I don't know, 35 to 40%. The actual engagement there looks to be about the same. There's the line. As far as lockup solidity goes, it is absolute. Wonderful. Absolutely no hint of lock stick. No pivot lash. Unbelievably consistent. Unbelievably consistent. And here, beautiful, beautiful detent and absolutely perfect centering with no detent lash. So this knife is made by We Knives, which means it's made in China. Now, We is definitely one of the very best Chinese production OEMs on the planet, and they definitely make some of the most precision pocket knives on the planet. If you haven't bought pocket knives in 10 to 15 years, that's going to come as a wet canoe paddle to the face. But it's true, right? I mean, you take the time, do all the research you want. I handle a crap load of knives here, including pretty much anything and everything that comes from the United States. And, I mean, honestly, like various countries, right? I handle a lot of stuff. Not everything, but a lot. Definitely more than the average person. So I have a good gauge on this stuff. We Knives definitely makes some of the most precision knives on earth. I mean, hands down, right? They have very, very few true competitors in that department. I'm not saying there's no reason to spend more money on something that's made in your country of origin, right? I'm definitely not saying that there's no reason to spend thousands with Dalibor on a custom knife, because I did. And I don't even have the thing, and I'm definitely happy to have done that, right? That's a different reason, right? You want machine precision and excellence? Well, We Knives has that. You want handwork? You want it made in the USA or whatever country you're from? There's more than one reason to purchase a knife beyond just utility, right? Or its ability, its level of execution, right? There's more than one reason. It depends on who you are. My point is, We Knives make some of the nicest knives on earth. So taking a design from Dalibor Bergam that has styling that is instantly recognizable and executing it this way is incredibly satisfying. The design functions and works really well. Probably wouldn't be the best choice in like more of like a hardcore like outdoor, like if you're like looking for a dedicated outdoor use folding knife. Well, I mean, this is durable enough, but it's going to be a little slick. Like the ergonomic lines aren't going to aid you nearly as much as something that's meant. I mean, here you go. Like use the AD10. Like it's not that hard, right? It's not that confusing who this is for and who it isn't. But for people looking for that ultra precision, complex machining combined with something that is instantly recognizable and stylish, right, from Dalibor, and something that's an integral. If you're like me and you put a lot of value in that, right? I mean, this is incredible. What I think is even more incredible is and their starting price for this. Generally what we see for a premium Chinese integral with premium materials, getting it under 400 is pretty difficult. So I always gauge at like 400. That's kind of like my value meter, right? You get a little bit of leeway if it's got like a special finish, or there's, like it's contoured, which this has. So I would have expected this, especially looking back at Wee's general pricing for some of their sandwich construction knives, I'd have put this at 450 plus, but it isn't. The base price of this knife is $352. That is insane. That's a lot of money, but it's insanely inexpensive compared to actual apples to apples competition. You might be able to find some kind of like rectangle, minimalist, whatever, it's kind of slapped together integral for less, but are you going to find something like this for the same amount of money? No, you are not. You are not going to find something like this. This particular version of the knife, which is not a base version, comes in at $372, which I was also blown away by. Now, you have the typical Damasteel version of this knife that's like massively overpriced, but whatever, right? This is spectacular. Literally everything about this knife except for the pocket clip is spectacular. This is going to make I can't imagine a world where this doesn't make my final best of 2024 list. I am overjoyed by this. I was more than happy to pay for it. I think it's absolutely wonderful, and I think anybody who thinks like me and picks it up is going to love it. If you are not into integrals, right? You're not into styling or special finish work or anything like that, then you're not going to like this. This is still a pretty specialized knife, right? And for that reason, I reserve my most recommended playlist, what I try to do, and I go back and trim it up every now and then because I've got some contradictions in there. But I reserve my most recommended knives playlist for knives that I feel like cater to a broad range of people, with utility being the central point and then a little bit of styling here and there. But this knife is the reason, knives like this is the reason I have a second list. I have a Metal Complex's favorite knives of all time list. And one can land there and not necessarily the other, because me personally, right, I'm going on my own knife journey, there are certain things that I appreciate, right? When a knife is so good in one department, it puts a big smile on my face and just really gets the blood pumping, and then the price is on point. Man, that's just the cherry on top. That's what allows a knife to make that list. This will be going in my Metal Complex's favorite knives playlist because it is legitimately one of my favorite knives that I've ever handled on this channel. I recommend it to people who think like me. You will not be disappointed. Thank you again to me, I guess, for buying it. I will link this and all variations of it down in the description, probably in multiple places. Please, We Knives, don't stop collaborating with Dalibor. That's a good idea. You should definitely keep doing that. Dalibor, thank you for existing. You make amazing knives. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex and on TikTok at _metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.